We have a lightweight matchup between Guida going up against Mark Madsen. Uh, in this matchup, Clay Guida comes in at 36 and 17 and is the plus 150 underdog, whereas Mark Madsen comes in at 10 and 0 and is the minus 165 favorite. What do you see in this matchup?
I'm really looking forward to this fight because there's never really a boring Clay Guida fight. This time he's going up against the unbeaten silver medalist in Mark Madsen. This fight will be spent on the ground, in my mind, as these guys shoot for a combined 11 takedowns per fight. Neither throws a lot, but if it stays standing, I know a lot of people would give it to Madsen, but I actually give it to Guida. I think he's got a good chin. He moves well. And he's not afraid to just throw. But I do see this fight staying grounded. Guida's a good wrestler and has great cardio, but Madsen's wrestling is world class, and in my mind, will be too much for Guida. So with that being said, and this fight, I'm going to go with Mark Madsen by a decision win.
Yeah, first I got Clay Guida. He likes to move forward and use the counter too. He has crazy good cardio, but has a lot of scar tissue from all the fights that he's been in. He has a decent wrestling background and he uses it to grind out fights and likes to engage in the clinch. He has good power in his shots and has the ability to put out volume. Then you got Mark Batson, who likes to press forward but doesn't have the best movement. He likes to throw big winging punches like the jab into the overhand right. His goal is to get the body lock. He likes to get in close and use his Greco-Roman background. He tends to use suplex throws when he clinches, and he likes to go for wrestling rides. In top guard, he goes for elbows and ground and pounds, and the longer the fight goes, the more tired he gets. And I think that's a big thing with this matchup is the cardio of both fighters. Of course, somehow Clay Guida has like the iron cardio
Yeah.
among fighters for the division. He can last forever. It's just that he's getting aged, and a guy like Madsen who does tire out, he's so dominant with the wrestling, and that speaks volumes of his record of being 10-0. That's why he's 10-0 because he could get the fight to the ground, and he has great ground and pound. He just usually does it to win like the first couple rounds. If he doesn't finish an opponent, he's already up 2 rounds to one anyway.
Yeah.
So it's like he starts to drown out his opponents get a chance to come back, but then by that time he can withstand it and then win. But majority of the time he usually wins by like ground and pound or whatnot. And I think
Yeah.
in this fight, even though Clay Guida has that big background, he's a veteran of the UFC, one of the big names. He's just, I think, at that point now, he's aged, and a fighter like this who's on the come up and is going to have the better wrestler in this time.
Yeah.
And like I'm not saying Clay Guida can't wrestle. I'm just saying that Madsen is a guy that his wrestling background is far exceeding Guida's at this moment right now, especially with the Greco-Roman and everything else. His camp has done tremendous wonders for him and translating that background to MMA.
Yeah.
Everybody knows who trains him right now, so that's all you need to know with this fight. And he's gonna just have this big time advantage, getting Guida to the ground, limit what Guida can do, keep him down because he's gonna be able to keep in top guard easily, get the ground and pound going with the elbows and the punches. And I actually think that he could finish him in around two. It's a possibility. I think it's safer to say that Mark Matson by unanimous decision, but don't be surprised if somehow that he gets him down to the ground in round two, that he wins by ground and pound. Just because with Clay Guida, every fight is his last fight. I feel like at any moment, and I think that this might be the perfect way for a loss from the retire is by a guy with a wrestling background.
Yeah. It definitely kind of feels like Guida is kind of falling into that gatekeeper
Yeah,
um, fight. I know we talked about his last fight with Michael Johnson as both of it, like both could have been their last fight, right? Because they were both
yeah,
seen in that gatekeeper role. To Mark Madsen, like his only losses as a professional are Olympic wrestling matches. I mean, that says enough right there, right? And for him to translate, like you said, translate the Olympic Greco-Roman traditional style and go into, being what he is, a 10-0 UFC fighter, is fantastic. He followed the trend with Henry Cejudo and Daniel Cormier, and these two guys are two of the strongest lightweights, in my opinion.
Yeah.
I look at it and I'm like, further down the line, I'm matching up dream fights. I'd love to see Mark Madsen go up against Michael Chandler. Just their wrestling, like that would be a clinic. You know what I mean? Just to see those two
Yeah.
just. I'd like a wrestling match between those two, not even just a fight. Like I'd like to see some mat work between those two guys. But I'm sticking with Madsen. I love Clay Guida, but I think he's just going to be overpowered in this one. And it's
Yeah.
tough to say that someone's a better wrestler than Clay
Yeah.
Guida.
Yeah, and to look at Madsen's debut back in last March, it's been over a year since he's fought.
Yeah,
He defeated Austin Hubbard by decision just by doing the same thing. And
yep,
then, actually, that wasn't his debut. That was his second fight. His debut, he beat Danilo Bellardo by TKO punches in round one. And then on the regional scene, which he's a Cage Warrior veteran, he's had wins by submission, decision. Uh, he has a technical submission, another submission, a
yep.
KO, and another KO. So he can beat you by separate scenarios, but his main thing's probably going to be Orion is going to be by KO or by unanimous decision. And I just think go with the safer pick, go with unanimous decision because he's going to have his way with the wrestling and the control time against Guida, just
I
because
agree.
Guida's too old at this time to fight off his back, in my opinion.